why do we need a new version of codependency? Like, why do we need, what is functional codependency, and how do I know if I am one?
Indeed. So high functioning codependency, the reason I even coined the phrase was because my clients did not see themselves in the traditional Melody Beatty, codependent no more, you got to be enabling an alcoholic type definition of codependency. So when I would say to my very capable and high functioning and successful clients, hey, what you're describing, this is a codependent behavioral pattern, they would literally be like, yeah, no way. Like, definitely not me. They're like, everyone comes to me. I'm not dependent on squat. Everyone's dependent on me. I'm managing all the people and all the things. I'm making all the dough, right? So what I realized, and this is years ago, is that, my clients literally don't know what codependency is. They think if you're not involved with an alcoholic and enabling that behavior, you're not codependent. And so the problem with that is I couldn't help them heal if they didn't see themselves in the problem, right? So as soon as I named it, because it was also my own flavor of codependency, if I'm being honest, right? You teach what you most need to learn. So, we do. So I actually, when I added high functioning to it, because it's also what I saw, it was the truth of what I saw. All of them were like, I'm the problem, it's me, with no shame, saying, you're right, that is me. I am doing all the things for all the people. And moving into, so what does it actually mean to be high functioning codependent? So we'll look at codependency. My definition is being overly invested in the feeling states, the outcomes, the relationships, the decisions, the financial situations of the people in your life to the detriment of your internal peace. So we got to be specific, because we're all lovers and mothers and sisters and daughters and citizens and caring people. So of course we want our people to be happy and get what they want in life and be satisfied, obviously. I'm not talking about that. That's normal caring. That's normal concern. When you're a high-functioning codependent, you are overly invested, meaning someone else's problems, you make them your own. You feel this over-responsibility to fix, to help, to support, to offer advice. And it's exhausting. And all the same problems, and then some, that you have from being in codependent relationships, which is what? Burnout, autoimmune disorders, resentment. Like, dude, it makes you so mad at others if you feel like you're over-functioning and then you have other people who are under-functioning. And the irony with high-functioning codependency is that the more capable you are, the less codependency looks like codependency, but it is still codependency.
Oh my God. So I have so many thoughts on this, because one of my new favorite podcasts is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Wiser Than Me. And she was talking to one of her guests, and she was saying that, I wish my sons would just listen to me, because I have such good advice and I know exactly the direction that their lives should go. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's how I feel about my children. So when I hear you talk about it through that lens, of course, I start scanning all the people in my life that I'm like, who would I be really concerned about making sure that they're happy? It is my children, and it is my husband. It is the closest people to me, especially with the children idea. Like, my kids are young adults now. They're 24 and 22, and I'm learning how to let go. But I still have, when they're unhappy, there's this desire to rush in and help them. Is that high-functioning codependency?
If you do rush in and help them, yes, it is. Because your desire to do it will always be there, right? We can only be in recovery from high-functioning codependency. We're never being cured. It's just like any other addiction, any other compulsive behavior, right? So we're not getting cured, and that's okay. We don't need to be cured. But you can be in recovery. So what does that look like? So let's talk about some of the behaviors of high-functioning codependency, and a lot of this will relate to adult children. Auto-advice giving, where we just can't stop. We just can't stop
Oh, it's so hard.
telling them what to do.
That's a hard one.
And I got such a good idea for you. And I know what you should do.
Yeah, I can totally fix their lives.
Yes, and what is the cost for doing that? You are robbing them of their autonomy. Not purposely, but that is the result. Your intention doesn't mitigate the impact that the behaviors have. You make children feel like you're the only person who has the answers. You don't trust their ability to figure it out.
Their power.
You do. You take their power.
Yeah.
But in that one particular instance, let's look at what we could do instead. So instead of auto advice giving, we can learn to ask expansive questions. Even if they're coming to you for advice, before you say a word, you need to say, okay, before I give you my 2 cents, which I will do if you're asking me for it, what do you think you should do?
That is good.
Your gut instinct is good. You're the person in the situation. And truthfully, even me as your mother, nobody knows more accurately than you what you should do.
Yeah. Wow. What a gift. What a gift to a child, and this is interesting because I know a lot of our audience are, they're empty nesters and they're learning to navigate this. And I, the other day, was having a conversation with 2 of my closest friends, and they were talking about how their adult children tend to call them a lot to ask them for questions. And I said, well, God, my kids don't call me that much. And one of them reflected back to me and they're like, that's because you did your job. And I'm like, wait, I can't. And these 2 women are phenomenal mothers. Like I have them on mother pedestals, but I only say this to say that it was really interesting to me that with motherhood specifically, it's one of those jobs that if you did it right at this phase, it is incredibly painful. Like no job do you do so well, or you do and it succeeds, and then you're cut off from that experience.
Right, but look at the extreme language. You're actually not cut off from that experience. You get to be in the front row of what your adult child, you get to cheer them on. You get to say, hey, I'm in the foxhole with you when you're struggling, but I trust in your ability to figure this out. And that requires us to tolerate our discomfort. The reason we auto-advice give is because you not knowing or me thinking that you might make the wrong choice. This is not just with adult children. This is with girlfriends or sisters or parents or whomever.
Right.
Makes me so uncomfortable that the way that I'm going to bind my anxiety is through instruction, is through ideas, is through, I have someone I can connect you with, and here's a book that I underlined for you, and I already made the calls, and I texted my friend, and I'm swooping in to basically be the hero. But I learned this. I'll tell you a story from the book. I learned this the hard way in my life because I didn't know. I thought that this was love. I thought that me saving all the people, that me trying to be of service to everybody, even if I didn't know you, I thought that was the way to be in the world. And one of my sisters was in a bad situation with a guy who was abusive, and she was actively alcoholic at the time, and he was doing crack, and they lived in a house in the woods without running water and no electricity. Okay, you don't need to embellish that story because it's already just a domestic nightmare. So I was talking to my therapist, and I was bawling my eyes out just all the time about it. Like I couldn't, for me, it was endlessly a 5-alarm fire of I have to get her out of there. I have to do something. And finally, my therapist, Bev, said, Terri, let me ask you something. Because I went in and I was crying and I was like, what am I going to do? I've done everything. And she said, Terri, let me ask you something. What makes you think you know what your sister needs to learn in this lifetime?
Ooh, that's good.
And I was like,
wow.
I said, well, can we agree that she doesn't need to learn it with a crackhead in the woods without running water? And she said, no, because I'm not God, Terri. I don't know how she needs to learn it. Yeah. But do you know what's happening with you? And I said, no. Can you obviously clue me in? Because I don't know. And she said, you've worked really hard to have a harmonious life. And your sister's life being a dumpster fire is really messing with that peace. And you want to go back to being peaceful. You want your pain to end. You want to fix her so your pain will end. And anyway, she helped me learn that I needed to set boundaries, and I did. And I said to my sister, I can't listen to you talk about this abusive guy. I love you, you know, and if you ever want to get out, I'm still your person. And like 9 months later, she called and said, are you still my person? And I said, yeah, I'm getting in my car. She got out, she got sober. And instead of it being Terri being the hero of Jenna's story, she got to be the hero of her own story.
Of her own, wow.
And it's what we rob people of, you know?
Yeah.